Hey YouTube, so I've done this in other videos before. I've talked about comparing prostitution to other occupations. You can see some videos in the description about the other ways that people have tried to compare prostitution to other occupations and my rebuttal to those proposed comparisons. But it seems this argument just won't die. This idea that, well, other types of labor are exploitative, or maybe labor itself is exploitative. Consequently, we just kind of got to accept prostitution. And see, this is where I differ. If you describe to me an exploitative labor situation or a dangerous one, if we can make it safe, then I support making it safe. If it cannot be made safe, and it's not something that society actually requires, something like a firefighter, something that society needs. We can't abolish firefighting just because it's dangerous, because not having firefighters is even more dangerous. So some occupations do actually have to keep around, but we can try to make them as safe as possible. If it's an industry that's not necessary and making people unsafe, then we gotta abolish the fucking industry. So if you tell me about exploitation that comes in other shapes and forms than prostitution, I'll be right there with you if you actually care about those people and you want to abolish that too. It's just that I can't be out there fixing every single problem. I can't be out there abolishing every single type of exploitative industry. It's just not possible. And I do think it's hypocritical that people talk about exploited workers of various types, be they domestic or be they working on construction. They only talk about those when they're trying to, devalue something like the feminist opposition to the sex industry. But the rest of the time, most people make those arguments they're not usually, active in an anti-slavery movement of any kind. And I'm not saying that you need to be politically active necessarily to talk about an issue, but a lot of the upset about it is you're actually not upset because people are being exploited so much, but because I'm making you uncomfortable by challenging prostitution. That's what's really going on. That makes a lot of people supremely uncomfortable for a long host of reasons, which I can't go into right now. But another thing, if you compare prostitution to other kinds of, they're like, okay, it's not like slavery per se, it's not like super dangerous, unsafe, exploitative construction work, but it can be kind of like, like a shit job. The type, like little shit, like where you gotta clean toilets. So they say prostitution is not exploitative and it is not dangerous, but it can be boring and mundane and maybe a bit gross. But it's not, they say it's like scrubbing toilets, that sort of thing. Let me ask you this. I suppose that I'm talking to somebody who has done two things before. I assume that you have had to clean a toilet before. You've done that? Okay. Now, go back to that experience and think about what that was like. Okay, next, remember the last time that you had sex. Now, hopefully that was a good experience. I'm going to assume if you are a male, in terms of orgasm or whatever, it probably was. So, now compare those two experiences. Compare your experience of cleaning that toilet and having sex. Now, do you honestly want to tell me that those activities are the same? If in your experience, cleaning toilets and having sex are similar experiences, then either you are doing some absolutely amazing toilet cleaning, in which case, please do a blog post about it or do a video and tell us your methods. Because orgasm from toilet cleaning, that's amazing. Or on the other hand, you might be having some absolutely abominable sex, in which case I want to tell you, you gotta do something about that. Wrong partner, wrong technique, wrong time, wrong mood, I don't know. Yeah, obviously I'm being sarcastic. Because obviously, if you are honest, those activities are not the same. And if they are, that means that, at least one person isn't enthusiastically consenting. They're just kind of, let's get this over with, which is not an attitude adequate for sex. But in 2019, apparently it's still a super crazy, radical thing to say that sex requires two people to be super duper into each other. And if one person's not into the other, there should be no sex. That is my super, super crazy position. Again, if you're honest, that a mundane, kind of gross job that very few people want to do, like scrubbing toilets, if that is the same as prostitution, then consequently, if somebody committed a crime by forcing someone else to scrub a toilet, we would have to treat that as a crime equal to rape. Because unwanted toilet cleaning is apparently the same as unwanted prostitution. Unwanted prostitution is rape, therefore, unwanted toilet cleaning is the same as rape. I'm sure we've all been forced before to clean a bathroom by our parents or a housemate. And I don't think I have to explain to you why that is not the same thing as rape. Yeah. And by the way, in my ideal society, nobody's forced to clean toilets. Either we have some super, renewable energy robots doing the job and we don't have to. That's probably not realistic, but I guess that's something I could get behind if we could do that in a way that wasn't, that was doable in terms of energy and that did not harm the planet. Then if I could, I'd just let robots do the cleaning. Or, all humans have to do it and we kind of rotate. So I actually want a society where no one's job is, cleaning toilets. And also, nobody has to sexually please strangers to make a living and to pay rent ever. It's not too difficult for me to imagine a future where both of these things are not occupations. And certainly no one pretends that they are the same kind of activity. So next time someone tells you prostitution is like this kind of exploitative labor or this kind of boring ass job, you can direct them to this video or you can do your own rendition of the arguments. If that doesn't do it and they're still like, I don't know, prostitution could be a job, you can ask them if robbery, rape, and murder at the hands of the customer are acceptable occupational hazards. Because if you look at safety prescriptions for people in prostitution, those are the occupational hazards. So, just to put some numbers out there, when it comes to trauma in relation to prostitution, the studies that exist indicate that the trauma rate for prostitution survivors is similar, if not higher, to war veterans. And when it comes to death by murder, prostitution is more dangerous than any other occupation. It's more dangerous than working in a liquor store. The stats I have say kills about 4 in 100,000, and it's more dangerous than being a taxi driver, which kills 29 in 100,000. As in, get murdered. Let's not forget how many soldiers die every year. It's 82 in 100,000. So in prostitution, you're more likely to get murdered as a prostitute woman. More than twice as likely as an American soldier. For prostituted women, in a study that spanned over 30 years and involved about 2,000 participants, we had 204 deaths by murder per 100,000. So homicide as a prostitute woman is significantly a thing that you're more at risk of than a man or a woman in any other type of occupation.